There's Always a Lyric is sponsored by Lotus 823. At Lotus 823, your goals are our goals. We help consumer tech, home, and lifestyle brands gain visibility, drive relevant traffic, and increase sales through customized public relations and marketing strategies. Want to learn more? Head over to lotus823.com or get in touch at biz@lotus823.com today.
Welcome to another episode of There's Always a Lyric. My name is David Hernandez. I'm a managing partner here at Lotus 823, which kindly sponsors this. Yay. And I have today Yohan Jacob, not only a good colleague and friend from the industry, but Yohan is the actual founder and president of Retailbound. And his journey in retail is nothing short of extraordinary. With over 30 years of experience, he's a veteran who's seen it all, from the inner workings of consumer electronics manufacturers to the strategic planning rooms of billion-dollar retailers. His ability to understand both sides of the retail equation is rare and truly invaluable. And at Retailbound, Yohan and his team have revolutionized the way over 4,000 clients around the world approach retail. From innovative startups to dynamic small and medium-sized enterprises, he has guided them through the complexities of merchandising, marketing, product development, and so much more. His approach isn't just about getting products on the shelf, it's about creating lasting, profitable partnerships with retailers. Yohan's expertise extends to every corner of retail merchandising, including the nuances of online and in-store marketing, effective licensing strategies, impactful packaging, and strategic vendor negotiations. He's a master at turning inventory management from a challenge into a strategic advantage. And boy, that is a lot that you do for a lot of people. Welcome, Yohan.
Thank you for having me today, David.
It's a pleasure. And I really want to start where things are right now with Retailbound and the whole journey that's led you to the point where Retailbound has really become a true solution, especially for innovative startup brands and even those small to mid-sized players that really need a leg up and guidance after they've created that great product. Like, what happens now? How are things going?
Yeah, so business is good. I mean, honestly, when we started Retailbound nearly 17 years ago, we had one goal in mind: helping young brands avoid some of the common mistakes I made when I was a supplier back in the early 90s. When I was selling to retailers like CompUSA, Radio Shack, Montgomery Ward's, retailers who aren't here today, right? I made a lot of mistakes, more I want to admit on this podcast, because I didn't know what I didn't know, nor did I have a company like Retailbound tell me what not to do, right? So that's why we created this company to help entrepreneurs of all shapes and sizes understand not just how to sell to retailers, but how to work with retailers as well, by the way, David.
And in those origin days, let's call it, in those early days of the company, what was Retailbound like? What was life like at Retailbound? Was it you? Did you have a crew already, or did it just start from a bootstrap startup?
I get to ask a lot by a lot of ex-merchants who want to be consultants. Like, if you can do it, Yohan, anyone can do it. Give or take. I did something that I wouldn't recommend to most merchants or VP of sales for manufacturers, is quitting your job, right? And doing it full blown. I back 17 years ago, my wife was a stay-home mom with a baby and another one on the way. If I don't do it now, I don't want to have regrets. Be in my 50s or 60s, and I would have, should have. So I say no. In my late 30s, just give it a shot. If I figure if it didn't work out for me, I can get a job, hopefully at Best Buy corporate or Costco corporate or Target corporate. Fingers crossed, right? So so I started out, just knock on doors, roughly speaking, and land my first client after a couple of weeks. And lo and behold, got another client, and so on. Hopefully within 6 months to 8 months, I was able to equal the salary I was making at a previous employer, right? So, and hopefully by a year and a half, I was able to double the salary. But it wasn't the money; it was really finding clients who valued my experience.
Yes.
of many years of merchandising and help them fast track,
Mhm.
or as the young kids say, hack the system.
Right.
A lot of young brands, when they try to reach out to a large retailer like a Best Buy or a Target,
Mhm.
like a job interview, large retail buyers know which brands are ready to work with them and which aren't. The ones aren't waste their time, waste a buyer's time, and don't get a second chance of making a first impression. So that's why they come with first start. And yeah, so the first few months, knock on doors, networking like what we do currently today. And lo and behold, we've had a very thriving business for 17 plus years, by the way. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it really started at a very delicate point in your personal life with, a young family and another one on the way, kind of thing. And um, it was, in retrospect, it was quite courageous. But the message I got is you bet on yourself.
well, yes, yeah, I would say, well, before I took the leap of faith, I wrote a how-to book. Part of my bucket list
Mm.
of things I want to do, such as get married, a couple of kids, be on this podcast, by the way. Check, check, check. Another thing was to write a book.
Mm.
What should I write about? Well, what about retail? I'm one of few, even today now, I'm one of few retail consultants who've been on both sides
Right.
of the retail buyer's debt. That's our one of our main unique selling propositions of retail. So I wrote a book in 2006 called Retailbound. Learn how to start retail. Still working for
Mm.
Office Max corporate.
Mm.
It's on Amazon, Barnes Noble. I think we sold over 25,000 copies of the book worldwide. Not bad for a guy here in
Yeah.
good old Chicago. And as you know, there's a lot of people, mostly smaller brands that need help,
Right.
right? So I much made my wife and my daughter and my parents and my employer. I quit my job. I'm not turning back, and yeah, that basically the company was started from a book I wrote as part of my bucket list 18 years ago.
Amazing. In in those let's call it pre and then early days, right? So pre retail bound and then the early days of retail bound, were there people in your life that you had met through your network or through work experiences that that you feel when you look back, this person really helped me, or really they were a great mentor in pointing me in the right direction? Uh,
Sure, for sure. So I would say that, in my corporate career as a merchant, right, I've had plenty of good bosses.
mhm.
I had a boss named Jim Smith, common name like Jim Jones, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But Jim was my senior buyer when I first started out in the late 90s as a merchant, and I was very fortunate to work with him.
Mm.
He kind of showed me the ropes of being a good merchant and always taught me that, and by the way, it's in the book, by the way, both the first and second edition of the book, that you're not as good as you think you are as a merchant. As a merchant, we always think, oh, on the next hot product, right? And we're it.
Right.
Like your baseball record, or you're good at your last putts, your last swing at the plate, right? And I think as merchants, we think, oh, we know everything. We're the kings or queens, right? Unfortunately, we're not perfect. There are times when we bring in a product into the stores and it isn't not a success. So Jim taught me a lot about being humble, taking chances, right? And really find how to really grow my business. When I started Retail Bound, one of the first things I did, Dave, and I have told other young agencies I actually mentor, like you, I give back as well, is surround yourself with people that can help you with your deficiencies, your blind spots, I call it, right? I don't know. As a merchant, you tend to be very egocentric. I know everything. I'm a merchant. I know everything, right? You
Mm.
don't, right? Especially when you're on this side, but that's as a consultant or the agency. So one of the first things I did when I created the company, to create a board of advisors, a paid
Mhm.
board of advisors. Um, we had three people that had backgrounds in your digital marketing, entrepreneurship, marketing, right? And we would rotate every 3 or 4 years. We would rotate those three individuals. So every year, every 3 years, I would have someone new saying, hey, go left or go right, or hey, but it was but when I was first starting out, and it was just me, not a team like I have today, and you as well,
Yeah,
like it was me and the dog,
that's
right?
right.
So I had to create a board of advisors that would at least, tell me, okay, you're doing this right, you're doing this wrong, and so forth. So that's one of the smarter things I did starting the company, 17 years ago. Right.
Uh, it's so important to have those sparks, though, those moments with people like Jim Smith that kind of get you to see the bigger picture of yourself in the end.
Yep.
Um,
Correct.
just kind of staying on the thread of the industry itself, and specifically where you are now. How do you see the industry? I mean, we've both been doing this for more than we
A
want to
long
say,
time.
a long
Yeah.
time. We both remember when headphones were in one color.
Yep.
Um, how do you feel about the industry and the current state of the industry with the changes in technology that have come, not just rapidly, but that speed has continued to speed up. And now with AI, a month is a year, right? In terms of, right? How do you see the industry? Are you feeling good about it? Where are you?
I'll approach the question in two different ways. I'll approach from a product selection, more in consumer electronics, one of the categories you and I both play in,
Yeah.
and retail in general, right? So as for products, yes, quote I always used to say when I bought DVD players is we are young. It took 15 years for the VCR to go from $1,000 to $99. It took 4 years for the DVD player to go from $1,000 to $99, thanks to Circuit City,
Yeah.
Best Buy, Sears, Walmart, right?
Yeah.
We tend to eat our young here in the C, and I've been in the C industry over 32 years, right? So, yeah, I think as the space continues to grow, right, in certain categories like health tech, smart home, VR, AR, right, AI, right, those categories will continue to blossom, and more retailers will continue to add space. I was
Mm.
at a Best Buy store yesterday as part of a comm shop for one of our newer clients, and I was very impressed with how Best Buy laid out the store. Where I think maybe a year ago I was in that store and it wasn't as customer friendly
Yeah.
or up to date as it was yesterday. So kudos to Best Buy.
Mhm.
As for the state of the industry and retail,
Mhm.
we thought with COVID 2020, okay, retail's dead, right?
Yeah.
It's not dead. In fact, in 2023 or 2024,
Mhm.
about 60% of retailers are planning to add stores this year and last year versus 20% decreasing stores. But obviously, media says, "Oh, Best Buy closed 10 stores," or Target closed 3 stores. Right? It gets media attention. I think ever since COVID happened, it's forced retailers to think differently,
Right.
not to rely on the same old playbook. Um, let's just, buy online, shop in store. An example, right? Offering better educated associates in store, like the blue shirts at Best Buy, or having tools online help customers sell themselves before they make a decision, right? So retailers have done a lot smarter since COVID, which is good. The ones haven't, are probably no longer in business, i.e., fries, as an
Right.
example, right? Um, as an industry right now, I think retail is still grappling between the economy,
Mhm.
right? What are the new hot products which are a must-have versus nice to have? Do I really need an 8K TV? Then my 4-year-old 4K TV is just good enough,
Right.
right? So I think there are some challenges in the consumer product industry
Mhm.
or in retail in general. But again, it goes in cycles. As long
For
as you
sure.
and I have been in business, we've seen the highs and the lows, right?
Right.
So it's gotta weather the storm, as I would say, by the way.
And and that kind of leads into the next question, which is uh, what what you feel is retail bounds why, but I feel that you sit in a unique position in terms of what you provide to
Yep.
brands entering into the retail space. Um, both unique because of your background, as you stated earlier, but also because of the entire business model of how Retailbound works with these brands. Um, what do you feel right now in terms of uh, your purpose as Retailbound is the biggest leg up that you can give a young brand? Do you feel it's in developing the retail strategy, or do you feel it is also just as important to help them on things, well, almost like an accelerator to really understand what their roadmap should be looking like over the next couple of years? And have they thought about X, Y, or Z? Just can you
Yeah,
give me a little bit?
yeah. I would say almost all of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
All of the above. But I think a lot of our clients that come to us, they have a board of advisors or an investor, or they have a lot of yes people, yes men, yes women on their team, right? Part of Retailbound, yeah, we're a consultant, we get paid a certain fee,
Yeah.
but if we feel that they're going off the track, we're the first one to raise our hand. Listen, hey, David, I like your strategy. However, I think you might be looking at it a different way. Let's get back on tack, right? Um, our job is to help brands get their own way, right? We have some clients that should be from a buyer, right? We have some clients that don't have the time or the interest in being in front of a buyer, right? So we take some of that work off their plates. But I think, what makes us a little different, like why brands like having Retailbound on their team is now they have a consultant who's been in the shoes about themselves,
Right.
but
Right.
more importantly, their customer, the actual retail buyer. So now you're actually talking to a former buyer who knows what tricks or really what strategy buyers are thinking. Because I'm going through, hey, here's a 40-page contract, let's buy. I get my lawyer, he can rely on everything. What things do you think the buyer is going to say sure versus no, I gotta take a pass, right? So it saves a lot of time and effort and us be on their team, tell them what the buyer is thinking so they can better position their brand, their pricing, their strategy, because they have someone like us kind of whisper in their ear what to do or what not to do.
Right. And really, they don't understand the audience because they've never met the audience.
They were their shoes of the buyer. We have, by the
Right.
way.
Right. And that is a unique value proposition because you're basically explaining to them not only here's what you need to be sharing, but also what you shouldn't do
Yep.
and what is not important to the buyer.
Right.
That's great. When you look at the whole arc of your career, were there any big learning moments for you? I know for me, I, just as a person, I've tend to learn a lot more from failure than I have from success. Uh, it's a great teacher. Is there moments in your past where a mistake or what could be seen at least in the moment as a failure really turned out to be an aha moment for you?
That's a very good question. I think at Retail, I've challenged myself as well as our team to think outside the box, right? Very give it a shot and let it fail, then not try at all, right?
Right.
I think we've launched other services from helping brands raise capital to being an academy for smaller entities to even franchising or licensing our name, Retailbound.
Really?
One of our ideas from our board of advisors because he was a franchisee. They want you franchise and you could really as a consultancy. We have our own methodology. How to get brands from point A to point. Look, I wrote a book, but we also have a buy. We actually spent six figures in licensing our methodology. So if someone say, I'll pay you X, I'll be a Retailbound consultant
Yeah.
in Boston. Sure, we're not gonna do that, but we went through that process. And I would say that majority of some ideas we've launched were a success, right? But we're giving it a shot, like the franchisee, right? Yeah. So we spent a lot of money, a lot of time in licensing our model, right? We're would-be consultants, former VPs of merchandising
Yeah.
who've never been a consultant or former directors of sales for a brand like Sony, right? Who wants to go into consultancy, right? Here is a Bible of how to be a consultant, how to get into, how to help brands into retail. And I think what helped us was really document our processes and where how we can improve, right? So we went through the time, very painstaking,
Yeah.
going through and developing about from a brand new scratch consultant how to onboard him or her. It helped us when we onboard new consultants who work for us directly.
Sure.
We've used that Bible that we created many years ago to onboard new team members. And the good news is that back in the day when we first started, yeah, we had one or two consultants really work out. Now that we have that Bible and certain processes documented, when onboard new consultants on our here Retailbound, it's a much smoother transition because now we have stuff to kind of walk he or she through. By the way,
Right. So even though it started as an initiative for one thing, it became an initiative for all things because
yeah, it was a goal to raise to drive more revenue and earning. It became it turned to be a training mechanism for
right.
onboard new employees.
And that raised your success rate with new folks coming into the team.
My philosophy, generally speaking, in hiring, you're probably the same way, is hire slow and fire fast.
Right.
Right. Take your time. Right now we're still in a buyer's market. There's a lot of great people out there. Unfortunately, looking for a job, I probably get a resume at least once every 3 weeks from a former buyer, or a current buyer who's unhappy with their work. So I have a pretty good, chest of good talent, right? But take my time and try and find the right person that makes sense for our company. And now having this documentation to provide him or her when they onboard, it's a much smoother transition. And that's why our average consultant has been on the team for about 4 years. Our longest one's been with for almost 8 years, by the way.
Word of advice: the entrepreneurial path is not for the faint of heart.
Correct. Correct.
So there's maybe some younger folks listening to us. What would you tell them as far as advice that you feel that it would be nice if you had some of this when you were younger?
The advice I would give, two bits of advice, which I actually use when I mentor other agencies. One is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Seriously. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. It's like, hey, you tell Junior, don't put your hand in the hot water, right? and it's burning. Ooh, or don't touch that electric socket, right? So I tell my wife, our kids are teenagers now, and I said they have to make the mistakes. If my daughter gets a speeding ticket, she just turned 16. Hey, I've told her what to do, right? She's got to learn, right? So I think, learn from mistakes. Don't be afraid. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, you tend to be cautious.
Yeah.
It's our money versus working for a corporation. It's their money, right? So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And the same thing I tell young agencies or entrepreneurs is build relationships. Like Jim Smith told me, treat people nice on the way up, but you meet them on the way down, right?
Yeah.
Build relationship and really be true. I tell him times I get connect on LinkedIn. I'll connect and I'll say, hey Jim, nice to connect you on LinkedIn. And not the way you reached out to me, Jim, not all the way around. And nothing, always follow through on your promises, but build those relationships, right? Because I think for us at Retailbound, we're very fortunate to have some really good partners like your agency. That's why your company was featured in a recent book or second edition, because again, we think Lowe's 823 is a great agency for brands who are looking to build awareness in housewares or CE or other categories they're looking into. But I think it's building relationships will definitely help you stand out from your competition.
And right back at you. So my favorite question, and it's the title of the podcast. Here it is. If there's one song title or song lyric that you feel captures your journey or your view on life, what would it be?
So I know we were joking before the podcast started that I actually have my playlist of my funeral.
You
That's
told
called
me that.
planning ahead,
I
right?
didn't know we
Planning
were going to
ahead.
share that today, but okay.
Sure, being a kid from the 80s, growing up with the Rocky and Karate Kid,
Yeah, sure.
I was the underdog. Even when playing competitive tennis, I
Okay.
wasn't the biggest. I didn't have the fastest serve, right?
Right,
I
right.
served later than most of my peers, right? I was able to, stand out. Even for job interviews, trying to, I was competing against other people, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but one of the songs that I was thinking about this question you asked me a while ago, is a song called "The Hall of Fame," from the script. I think it's a UK I think it's an Irish band, and I really like that song a lot because it's around the early days of Retailbound. When we're just starting out, we weren't well known like we are today, right? And like what that one song like when you're working out, you got that one song to pump you up when you're
Yeah.
lifting weights or you're running. What's that one song? And even now, when I hear that song on the radio, this song, I get the little goosebumps.
Mm,
So the lyric I like is called "Stand in the Hall of Fame, and the world's going to know your name because you burn with the brightest flame, and the world's going to know your name. You'll be in the walls of the Hall of Fame." So I really like that because
I
obviously
like that
working
song.
hard, we've got a lot of honorary mentions from various organizations. Even ChatGPT, right, has recognized Read to Bound as one
Hey,
of the top
you know what?
agencies to.
That was so interesting when you told me that. I know in a recent conversation you mentioned that to me. I was like, holy cow, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
I didn't do anything, but just all the content we've published, like yourself, right?
Right.
Somehow
It sees you
ChatGPT
as an
thinks,
expert.
hey,
So
you're an expert. I didn't know that. It was kind of cool that when these inbound leads, yeah, we bought it on ChatGPT. Like, didn't know. So like having people recommend us to their friends, hey, you need to talk to my friend Bob. He started a new cool
right.
brand in electronics. And I think just, we spent a lot of time, a lot of like most entrepreneurs,
Mm,
build our name, build relationships, and in turn, we're getting reaping the benefits after 17 long years.
right.
So those are the lyrics that I kind of hold true to, I guess.
It's an interesting pick because it really talks about visualization. That's what
Yep,
it's saying visualize yourself in that Hall of Fame.
yep. And it's just like the
Visualize. Hmm?
grow up in the Rocky and Karate Kid era,
Oh yeah,
right? The
sure.
underdog, right? I still have the songs on my I find it motivating when I'm working out and that extra mile you have to go, right?
Yeah.
So this song was around the mid 2000s, and we're trying to continue to grow the company. And I thought, hey, it's a really cool song by the script. It's like the only song I have on my iPhone, but it was a good song, and I like the lyrics. So
That's great. That's great. It, it's really wonderful talking to you in this way. I know you
likewise,
and I talk pretty regularly, but getting to know you this way and really getting to know parts of the story that I never really knew regarding how Retail Bound really started. Uh, and it really is a testament to you. Congratulations again, and congratulations on 17 years. With that in and of itself is remarkable in this, especially in our industry. Uh,
sure.
and many more, and stay healthy. God, working out 2 hours a day, I think you'll outlive us all. But um, here's to more. And thanks again for joining me today.
Thank you, David.